In Lesson 12, we're going to learn how to make a couple of different customer reports. We're going to build a simple customer report with one customer at a time. Then we'll make a customer list report where we can see all of our customers listed, one per row. Then we'll make some mailing labels, and we'll only send mailing labels to active customers. And we'll learn about different things like paper size, margins, printing, and so on. So far, we've learned how to build tables, queries, and forms. Now, reports are very similar in design to forms. However, reports are designed to be presented to someone who's not using your database. You can print them out. You can send them as email attachments. You can do lots of stuff with reports. Forms are used for entering and editing data in the database. Reports are used for taking that information and displaying it for someone else. Creating a report is very similar to creating a form. First, we pick the table or query that has the data in it. Then we click Create. And then over here, you'll see the Reports section. Right? Tables, queries, forms, reports. Now, just like forms have lots of different ways you can build forms, so do reports. There's lots of different things you can do to build reports. Here we have the simple report designer. This is where Access pretty much just takes the table or query that you're pointing at and just makes a report for you. And you get some options, but basically Access does it for you. Then you have report design, which gives you a blank report and lets you start from scratch. This is actually my preferred way to build reports, but we'll cover that in future classes. We're just going to do some simple reports today. Blank report sets up the report for you and then lets you go ahead and move the fields around in layout mode. There's the report wizard. I actually like the report wizards. I don't like a lot of the wizards, right? Some of them are good wizards, some of them are bad wizards. The report wizard's a good wizard. I like the report wizard. I'm going to show you the report wizard in a few minutes. Then we got labels for making mailing labels and such. We're going to run through this too. Let's start with just a simple report. All right, so again, click on Customer T and then click on this first one here that's just report. Okay, now Access throws together a basic report for you. I'm going to maximize this guy so it takes up the full Access window. Now this looks very similar to that multiple items form that we looked at earlier, right? The continuous form it's called. If you scroll down, you'll see all your different customers down here. And you can scroll to the right. This is a multi-page report. You'll see there's a couple pages here. Okay. Up top here, you'll see the title. You can double-click there and change it if you want, right? PC, resale, customer, list. Press Enter. Over here, you'll see the date and time. Now, normally for forms, I don't bother putting date and time on there. But for reports, you might want to know when this was generated, right? This was printed on this date. If you don't want the time there, click there, press Delete. It goes away. Now, just like forms, reports also have different views. You'll see the views are over here. And if you drop this down, right now we're in report view. Print preview is the one you're going to want to pick the most. Print preview will actually show you what this is going to look like when you print it. All right, that'll give you the best view of that report. All right, down here you can use the navigation buttons to move between the different pages. Okay, now this isn't a very good report. It's not very well formatted. Like I said, Access just throws together a real simple report for you, but yeah, it's not the best. All right, I'll show you how to build a better one in a minute. All right, when you're done with print preview, click the Close Print Preview button over here. That'll put you back into report view. All right, there's also layout view and design view. We'll talk more about design view in future classes. This is where you can get in here and actually edit the fields and the labels and all that stuff. But again, remember, this is beginner level 1. We still have our training wheels on, right? I can't show you everything in one class. It's coming. Don't worry. All right, come back up top, click on Design, because for some reason when you go into Design View, it puts you into Page Setup mode. Don't worry about that just yet. Come back over here and go to Report View. Okay? Report View is the best way to view the data in the report on the screen. Okay? Layout View is you can come in here and resize these columns or resize the rows. Okay? Now, I don't particularly care for this simple report that Access put together. So I'm going to hit the Close button up here. That'll close this report. Do I want to save changes to this? Nah. That's okay. I didn't like it anyways. Let's make the same kind of report, but I don't need all of those fields. I just want a simple customer list. All right, so this time let's use the Report Wizard. All right, the Report Wizard lets you pick what fields you want, what layout you want, all that stuff. All right, so base it on the customer T. Now, if you drop this down, you can see you can pick any table or query. This is one of the reasons why back when I started using Microsoft Access back in like 1994, all right, it didn't say table or query next to it over here on the left. So you didn't know if this was just customers, you might have a table called customers and a query called customers, and you didn't know which one was which. So that's why I personally started using that TQF naming system, and it just stuck with me. It just works. Plus, when you later on when you get into macros and modules and you do some VBA programming, it's handy to know if you're working with a table or a query based on the name of it. All right, so I'm going to pick the customer T here. Now, what do I actually want to see on the report? Let's do the customer ID. How about first name, last name, company name, and phone number? So just do that. See that? You click on the field over here. You click on this little button. That brings it over there. If you don't want it, you click on the button to send it back. That's for all of the fields, and that's to bring back all of the fields. Or you can double click on something on this side. See that? Okay, but that's all I want to see on this particular report. All right, hit next. Now, it's going to ask if you want any grouping levels. You can do something like group the customer list based on state. All right, so all your New Yorkers show up first, and all your Pennsylvania people show up. We're going to talk about grouping levels and sorting levels and all that stuff in future classes. Again, training wheels. We'll get there. All right, next. You can add a sorting level if you want to. All right, what do you want to sort by? Let's sort by last name and then by first name, ascending. All right, now, if you have a sort in a query, if you base this report on a query, this sort will override it. Okay, but if you're based just on a table, this is your only sort. All right, next. All right, what kind of report do you want? Tabular, this is the one we just had a minute ago that Access threw together for us. It's like a continuous form, a multiple items form, right? You get every record one per row. Columnar, or columnar, however you pronounce it, right? That looks like our single form. We have the labels and the text boxes, and you'd have one customer per page, for example. There's Justify, which kind of looks like an invoice, right? For this, I'm going to pick tabular, and I'm going to go with landscape. So it goes this way instead of that way. Okay, adjust the field width so all the fields fit on a page. Yeah, that's kind of nice. Because remember, the other one was kind of spilling over into 3 pages. There's a limit. I mean, obviously, you can't put 700 fields on one report and expect it all to fit. Okay. All right, next. What title do you want? Let's call this the customer list R. It's my list of customers. Do you want to preview the report or modify the report's design? Let's just preview it. And I'll hit finish. And there it goes. See, now that's a good wizard. I like that wizard. It put together a pretty nice looking report. All right, notice my mouse is now a magnifying glass. All right, I can click to zoom in. There's your first name, last name. Customer ID kind of came in there weird. I don't know why it's in that order. All right, company name, phone number. Down here on the bottom left, you'll see the date. Over on the right, you got the page. You can also use this guy here to zoom in and out if you want to. If you have multiple pages or whatever. Okay. Let's get this customer ID out of here and move it over here to the left in front of last name. Now, normally, I'm going to cheat again. Normally, I wait for level 2 and 3 to go into design view. But like I did earlier with the customer form, let's go ahead and sneak ahead a little bit. Close the print preview. All right, let's go over to design view. Okay, I'm going to take this label and this text box and slide it over here before last name. Okay, now notice in design view, there's different banded sections. All right, forms have them too, but in reports, they're a lot more prevalent. Detail is where all your details go. Page header appears at the top of each page. Report header appears once at the top of the report. Then you got the page footer at the bottom of each page and a report footer, which right now is not in there, but you can put stuff at the bottom of each report. Those are the different sections of a report. And again, this is just a little sneak preview. I'll cover all of this in detail in future classes. But right now, I'm going to take this text box, watch this, grab the edge, click, drag, and drop it right there on top of first name. See what I did there? Now I'm going to take, that's last name, sorry. Now I'm going to take first name and slide it over to the right, just like that. And take last name, or first name, whichever one this is, slide it over to the right. See that? That's how easy it is to move things around in here. Now we got to do the labels too. The labels are on top. So take this, click, drag it over there. All right, now I'm going to do click and then shift click on that one to select them both. And then click and drag them over to the right. See? All right, save it. Let's close it. And I'm going to open it back up again. But if you double click on it, it opens up in report view. I don't like report view. Report view to me, I like print preview. So I always right click and then print preview. You can see what it's actually going to look like when you print it. And yes, in a couple classes, I'm going to show you how to make a main menu form with different buttons on it to open up your forms and reports. And we'll have stuff open right up into print preview. Okay, now one more change I want to make. Look at that. Customer ID is kind of chopped off there. And numbers tend to line up on the right side, whereas text lines up on the left. So let's change the ID. Let's rename that just to ID, and we'll make this all aligned to the left. So one more time, close the print preview. Right-click, design view. Okay, I'm going to change this label to just say ID. All right, just like that. And let's resize this guy like that. And I'll go to Format, Align Left. And we'll do the same thing with the text box. Watch this. We'll do Align Left. See, now all of this stuff should line up to the left. Save it. Close it. Right-click. Print Preview. There we go. And I apologize. My recording software is a little box, so I got to right-click. There, you can see it's down there below the access window. Print Preview. There you go. And that looks a lot better now, doesn't it? ID, and then you got that stuff right there. And I'm going to show you all kinds of cool tricks in future lessons, how to turn off these alternating bands if you don't like that gray band, grouping levels, all kinds of neat stuff. All right, let's close that. Okay, that was kind of fun. Let's make another one. Let's make a single report where we've got a bunch of data for each customer, one customer at a time. Okay? Let's click on Create, and then Report Wizard. I like the Report Wizard. It's a good wizard. We'll pick the customer T again. You could pick a query, remember. If you want, just customers from New York or whatever you want to appear in this report, you can set up a query for it and then base it on that. All right, but I want the customer T. It's got all my fields in it. All right, let's do customer ID, first name, last name, company name, city, state, zip, country, and let's add phone number, and how about notes? Okay, just those fields. All right, next. Do you want to add a grouping level? No, that's okay. Next. All right, what do you want it to look like? Sort by, let's go last name and then first name. Next. Let's do columnar this time, so we get the labels and the fields next to them. And next, what name do you want? This will be my customer R, my customer report. And then preview. And hit finish. And there we go. Now you can see I've got one customer. There's Joe Jones. All right, scroll down. There's the next customer. See, Susan Jones. And then, okay, page 1 of 8. Go to the next page. And scroll back up here. There's the next customer. Again, I don't like the customer ID aligns to the right and everything else aligns to the left. So let's close the print preview. Click on customer ID, format, and then align left. And again, I don't know why it keeps putting it down here. Let's do this. I'm going to draw a box that touches these. See that? And then click and drag it up to the top. And then click and drag a box that touches those and drag these down. That's how you can move these things around in design view. And we'll be spending a lot more time on this design view in the next level, in level 2. All right. Hey, and while we're in here, let's highlight these like that and bold them. See that? Save it, close it, right-click, print preview. Look at that. There we go. There's our single customer report. Okay, scroll through. There's page 2, page 3. Notice my notes, right? They take up a lot of space. Page 4. People always ask me at this point, can you make it so you get one customer per page? Yeah, absolutely you can. You can force a new page after the section. I'll cover that in a future class. That involves getting into some more advanced stuff. But it is possible, yes. Some other things you can also modify in here once you're in print preview. Go to size right here under page size. Here's where you can change the type of paper that you're dealing with. Letter is the most popular, but if you're dealing with legal paper, there you go. That changes it to legal, or A5, or an envelope, or whatever else you want to pick. I'm going to go back to letter. You can change the margins if you want. There's normal, wide, narrow. Right? If you go to wide, you can see what that looks like. See, you got more room around the page. You can set custom margins if you want to under page setup here. All right, and I'll talk about all of this in upcoming classes. Here's you can change from portrait to landscape. Okay. You can export reports in different formats. You can send them to Excel. You can make a text file. PDF is what most people do. Just click on the PDF or XPS. XPS is Microsoft's type of open document format, but everybody pretty much has PDF. Okay, so just pick PDF, give it a file name, pick where you want it to go. There's standard or minimum size. If you're sending it to someone by email, usually minimum size is fine. Standard if you're going to be actually printing it and you want high quality. Okay, I'm just going to hit cancel. You can also email it as an attachment. You can send it as a Word document. You can do all kinds of stuff up here. All right, let's close this one. And let's make some mailing labels. Now, the boss says, I want to print out mailing labels for all of our active customers. Not everybody. If you remember from our customer table, we have a field in here called is active. Some of these people are no longer active customers. Maybe they're deceased or they moved out of our area that we service. So I don't want to waste money mailing to those people. So what do? How do I make a report to print labels to just the active customers? Well, whenever you want to do any kind of criteria like that, what do we use? We use a query. Okay, just like this customer from New York. Remember this guy, right? We have a query down here, a criteria that says New York. So let's make a query that has only active customers in it. So let's go to Create, Query Design. We're going to go to Tables, bring in our customer T. I can close this now. All right, bring in the fields that you want for your mailing labels. So I don't care about customer ID. I want first name, last name, company name, address, city, state, zip, country, and then I need is active. Now for is active, I'm going to come down here in the criteria and I'm going to say true. That means only customers that are active will show up in this query. If I run this query now, look at that. They're all the active customers, and I'm only seeing 13 of them. Whereas if I open up the table, there's 16 total. So I got 3 inactive customers that will not show up in the mailing labels. Now, do you have to sort this? No. We'll handle the sorting inside the report. All right. So let's save this. I'm going to call this Customer Active Queue, my active customer list. I like to keep all the customer stuff starting off with customer, right? That way it's all grouped together. And again, I try to keep my tables and queries and stuff singular instead of saying customers active. It's just later on, it just becomes less confusing. You don't have to say to yourself, well, was that customer active or customers active? Okay. All right. So our query is all set. We have a query with just active customers. Now we can use this to make our mailing label report. So let's go to Create, Labels. Okay. Now, the wizard creates standard labels or custom sizes. First thing is to find the manufacturer of your favorite labels, whatever types of mailing labels you've got. Okay, I personally use Avery labels, and Avery's kind of one of the most popular manufacturers. So even the third party, the knockoffs, and the other brands, they usually have an Avery compatibility number. Okay, I like 5160s. That's where you get 30 on a page, right? It's 3 columns, 10 rows, 30 per page. All right. Of course, it might change English versus metric. Sheet fed or continuous. Sheet fed is like inkjet and laser printers. Continuous or dot matrix printers, where it just keeps sucking them in. Or you might have a continuous label printer, like a Dymo label printer. Okay. And yes, you can create custom labels. I do have lessons on that. That's a lot more advanced, though. But find your label type that you want. All right. Hit next. Okay. Font size, font weight, text color. I'm going to stick with all the defaults. Okay, if you make your font size too big, you might get fewer lines on the label. So don't think you can go 20 point in here and get 5 lines on there. Okay, 8 point is usually good enough. You don't want to go too small either, because then sometimes the post office might not be able to read your label. Next. Okay, now we're going to set up our prototype label. Basically, we pick the fields over here and we arrange them on this prototype label how we want them to appear on the label itself. So first, bring over first name. Double click, or you can click that button there. All right. Now, between first name and last name, what do I want? A space. So press the space key on your keyboard. Now bring over last name. All right. Time for the next line. Enter. Press enter on your keyboard. All right. People always miss that step. All right. Company name. Now, if company name is blank, it won't put a blank line there. It'll just squeeze out that empty space. It's kind of neat. Okay. Enter. Address. Enter. All right. And now we got city, space. Sometimes people put a comma there. I don't. State, space, zip, space, and then country. If you have a larger label or you go with a smaller font, you could fit country on the next line. But this usually works just fine. And remember, I leave United States. I'm in the United States, so I leave U.S. customers blank, so it doesn't print a USA there. That's one of the reasons I do that. Okay. Do I want is active on the label? No. Just leave it over here. All right. Ready? Next. Okay. What fields would you like to sort by? Now, if you're doing bulk mailing and you're printing thousands of these, you got a bulk mail permit, you get a discount, you might want to sort by zip code and then address. So all your stuff is properly sorted as it's printed. I'm not going to bother with that, so I'm going to sort it by last name and then first name. Okay, but this is where you control the sort. You don't have to do it in the query. All right, next. All right, what name do you want? We don't want that. We want customer mailing label R. All right, all singular. Again, that's my preference. You can name it whatever you want. No spaces. Again, I emphasize no spaces in your object names. Trust me. If you do decide to get into development and you get into programming, you will thank me then for not having spaces. They cause so many problems. All right, finish. Let's see the labels as they will look when they're printed. Finish. All right, now, this is a popular error message that comes up. All right, almost all the time. It says some data may not be displayed. There's not enough horizontal space. The wizard sometimes makes the width of the label just a little bit too wide. And this happens all the time. I get tons of emails from people about this. Just hit OK. It still looks fine, doesn't it? It looks just fine. But that error message still pops up. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Close this. Now, if you go back into Print Preview, right-click Print Preview, you still get that. Okay, how do we get rid of that? All right, go to Design View. Take this edge right here, this little tiny edge, and just click it and drag it in just a teeny tiny bit. Like even that's sometimes enough. Save it, and let's go back into Print Preview again. Let's see. And if not, just eat off just a little bit more. I think this is a long-time access bug. Let's bring it in just a tiny bit more. And maybe slide these over a little bit, like that. They'll still fit just fine on the labels. Right-click, Print Preview. There we go. But it gets rid of that stupid error message. And these will still print just fine. Okay. So there's your mailing labels, right? And now when you're ready to print, you just come over here and click the Print button. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to waste a sheet of paper. But that's that. Now, I have to give you my laser printer talk at this point. Notice how I've only got half a sheet of labels that are going to print. All right, so I got a bunch down here, like, well, I got the 4 times 3, 12, 13. So I'm going to have, 17 blank labels on the bottom down here. Now, if you have an inkjet printer or a dot matrix printer, you can ignore this. If you're using a laser printer, okay, you do not want to feed a sheet of labels through a laser printer more than once. Why? Because laser printers use heat when they print. They basically sprinkle on some toner, and then the heater bakes the toner onto the page. Okay? That heat tends to cause the glue behind those labels to soften. And if you run the same sheet of labels through that laser printer and it keeps getting repeatedly heated, those labels have a tendency to then peel off inside the printer and get stuck to the rollers. I've personally had this happen to me and a couple of my clients. And it's expensive to have your printer taken apart and have those labels peeled off. You're better off just buying a new printer. So if you've got a laser printer, don't feed your sheets of labels through more than once. If you print a lot of one-off, like single labels, I do highly recommend the Dymo label printers. I've got lessons on how to use those with Access, in fact. I've got a free one on my website. I'll put a link down in the link section below, how to print to a Dymo label printer. They're pretty cool. Right? These guys, these little printers right here. Okay? And this video will show you how to use them. Okay, so let's go ahead and close that. And there we go. Now we've got a couple of different reports in our system. We can also print or mail to people. So we covered a lot of stuff today. We learned how to build a table, how to build queries based on that table with different criteria. We built a customer form to edit and enter data on the screen. And we've got a couple of different reports that we can print out.